Most of the people know you as Draztik. Tell us a bit more about yourself. Your real name, where you're from, how was your childhood, things like that, yeah?
Yeah, man. Drastic. I've been in the industry for about 10 years in South Africa. I'm originally from Botswana. I grew up in California. I moved out there when I was about 9 years old. Came back um, when I was an adult, So I learned to produce and do my thing out there. Real name Dave. Hardly anybody knows that, unless they on my Facebook friend. They would know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, did you always want to be a producer?
Funny thing is that I ran into producing because it was a situation where I was an MC first,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of friends around me who were doing production in the U.S. and I got sort of pulled into it where I was watching what they were doing and sort of learning from them, and they were established in the industry out in California,
Yeah.
and they were linked to people like Ice Cube and whatever else. But I was an MC first, and I started rapping. But what happened is during the transition of me being an MC, I moved back to Botswana and South Africa, and I had ideas of the music and what I wanted, and I ended up having an issue where I couldn't find the right music to blend with what I was trying to do. So I sort of got pulled into this whole like, oh, let me see if I can put together something that suits my style. So that's how I sort of, the initial start of me getting into production.
And a bit more technical level. When you first started out,
Yeah.
what was your toolset? Were you Fruity, FL Studio, Reason? What type of? How did you start it out?
Man, I'm gonna hit you with some information
Yeah.
and knowledge that y'all won't probably even know, or
Let's
most
hear
cats
it.
won't even know. But funny enough, when I started sampling, it was before the Fruity Loops and the acids, and it was the early ages of MPC 60 and the SP 1200.
Yeah.
All right, and on that time, the only computer creation or music that you could get into was there was a brand called Commodore Amiga, which was during the time when Atari launched. Okay, and what happened is they brought out an 8-bit sampler, which you could sample um, about 10 seconds,
Okay.
and they had this primitive software that you could use that you can spin the samples and make them noise. So I was doing these. When I first started, I started doing these crazy mega mixes. I was sampling NWA and Ice Cube
Yeah.
and Public Enemy and early old school hip hop. But all I was doing was mixing parts of the beat, sort of like what they call pause tapes. You play part of a beat and you pause the tape and then you rewind it and you record the next section until it's one full track.
Yeah.
So I was doing that with that, and I mean the limitations I had on that were just crazy. But I managed to do all kinds of stuff. So by the time Fruity Loops and Acid came, it was like, what? This is like, I could do so much more now because I was able to work in such a small space before. So that's how I started.
Okay, when you were coming up, who was like your favorite producers, like the ones that you feel had the most impact on you?
I mean, old school wise,
Yeah.
I mean, that would have had to been the Bomb Squad. They produced predominantly most of the early NWA Public Enemy, and Sir Jinx. Sir Jinx was just phenomenal to me when I was growing up. Um, there were a lot of other producers. I mean, we were very sort of grown up in sort of a territorial hip hop situation at that time. So West Coast, we listened to West Coast, but I used to try to get out of it and try and listen to as much of EPMD and LL Cool J and whatever else was popping around that time. But yeah, Eric Sermon, of course, at that time. But as I progressed later on, I mean, it had to have been Dr. Dre because he was just phenomenal. He started, was first guy to start sampling stuff and replaying it, and that was just phenomenal for me because it brought a new dynamic to creating hip hop music and taking something that's dope, get the original bass player or get another bass player to play the notes and do the keys and play the melodies. And when he did that, the quality of the sound changed, you know. So yeah.